Hey guys, a different topic for me today. I thought I would share kind of my workflows and experiences, some of the tools that I use, some of the apps that I use for managing and trying to optimize my health and fitness and general general well-being, I guess would be the right way to say it. So first off, I will start by saying I think it's pretty obvious, but I'm not an expert in these matters. You can tell from my physique that I'm far from a fitness guru or anything like that. This is more me sharing like some of the things that I use, and I'm a student of the game as I am in everything, like even in my businesses, like I'm continually learning and kind of testing new things and figuring things out. So this will just be a video of me kind of sharing some of the apps and things that I use to try to like improve my general health and fitness. So it's also very safe to say that fitness has been very much neglected on my part for over the past like 7 years. I'm 27 now, and the last time that I was in like really good shape was probably when I was about 21, and then I put on some weight, and then about when I was 23 again, when I first moved out to Georgia, I was in pretty good shape again. And then as I kind of dive into running these companies, I always put on like a lot of weight and neglect the gym, and also just go for just generally ordering a lot of food purely from a productivity point of view. Like it's far easier and I live in like countries like in Georgia, it's very cheap and easy to do. And I did look at getting like a private chef before. That didn't work. I'm actually looking for one here in Colombia now, just to handle all of that. I'm generally a pretty extreme person. I become pretty obsessed with one specific area of my life at a time, which is very bad. And I work on trying to have more balance across all areas of my life. But seeing as like my health is something that has been neglected over the past few years, whilst I've been pursuing financial freedom, just pursuing money basically, which like fortunately I've now achieved financial freedom like over this next year. I wouldn't call this like a New Year's resolution. It's just purely a coincidence that we're coming into the new year, that I've started to have more of a focus on my personal health. So like I said, I'm 27 years old. I think I've put my body through like a fair amount over the past few years, and when I was much younger as well, I was a very, very heavy drug user from 15 to 17, using anything and everything daily pretty much. So my body has been through like a fair amount of abuse, and considering I think I've kind of got away with it because I am still relatively young. You can kind of get away with a lot more, and perhaps it catches up with me in older life, but I fortunately haven't had any like major health issues despite a lack of diet and exercise. And so now it's kind of, it may happen in later life, so now my focus is to kind of minimize the chances of that happening. And just to be clear, like my main goal is to feel as good as possible for as long as possible. What I would prefer to do is to live feeling great, feeling young for as long as possible. I think life generally starts to deteriorate, your body starts to deteriorate as you get older and older. To start off with, like I thought I would talk about like a couple of different apps and things that I use that I've come across. So if you see here, this is a continuous glucose monitor that monitors my blood levels at all time. Maybe some of you are familiar with this already. This is called the FreeStyle Libre 2, and I've known about this for quite a while, but I never used it because there are a lot of complaints about the app. Whereas now, I'm going to introduce you to a second tool as well called Ultrahuman. And they're a startup based out of Dubai. Relatively, it appears they're well funded. They've got a very nice website, very nice app. They charge a lot more money. I can't remember the exact pricing. I think it's about $250 per month to use their continuous glucose monitor. But the thing that I realized is that they actually just use this exact one, but rebranded, and they put their logo on top of it. And you can buy these for $20. So I just ordered it from a pharmacy here. You connect it to the app, you literally hold it here. So I have continuous, and this is like really interesting if it will show. I have like continuous tracking of my glucose levels, the spikes, while it's sleeping. And I can literally just tap here, scan the NFC tag. There we go, scan complete. So my glucose is currently here. I'm in the top 40%. Yeah. So you had a glucose crash. I just find this information so interesting. And one of the things that the thing about like kind of diet and fitness is the indicators of success are lagging. For example, like with food, I can eat a load of sugary food and I will immediately feel very good as long as I don't overdo it. I've got dopamine going off in my brain and I'm feeling very good, but actually it's really quite bad for me. And it takes like a longer period of time for that to kind of catch up. They're lagging metrics, right? It will even take like a couple of months, and the same applies for like fitness and working out. Just because I go to the gym and train really hard, I'm not going to notice a difference. Even if I do that every day for like a month, I will start to see some type of improvements. But they're really kind of like lagging indicators. So the thing that I like about this is it's in kind of real time. So I know, like for example, just downstairs, I had I had like a granola bowl with fruit and honey, which is like high in sugar, and of course, like my glucose is completely spiked up and it is crashing back down. And so right now I'm back down at about normal levels. And this is like happening in real time, and I guess it's more of like a motivation thing, but also just to understand what is actually going on in your body. I really find this stuff to be just so intriguing. And because of these kind of tools that are coming out now, such as this tool, which like I'm a really big fan of, I would also pay directly for their own things. Personally, I don't care about the money. The only reason I came up with this solution of using this other one with their app is because Ultrahuman only ship in Dubai. But to go into this a little bit more, it syncs with Apple Health, so I can plug in all of my activity. If I start a workout, it will be synced over to the app. I can also log all of my food. So the thing that I use there is MyFitnessPal, where you can log in like, okay, I had an espresso, I had this granola for breakfast, and it tells you what has spiked. And what this app actually does is it learns the specific foods that you've eaten, the specific ingredients in those meals, to understand what is agreeing with your body, and it gives recommendations on the types of foods that you should be eating. And again, this is completely personalized to you. So I think we're starting to see really starting to see an interesting shift in kind of how technology can be used for your personal health. Maybe some of you are also familiar with Aura Ring, which is a little ring that you wear, sleep tracking ring. They also plug into Aura's application, and it will pull data from there to tell you how your sleep is impacting your glucose levels and your like metabolic rate. So this, as much as they have two tools and they're also releasing their own ring, this is kind of like a centralized app that connects with all of the different tools that you have. If you have an Apple Watch, an Aura Ring, using a glucose monitor, and it will pull it all together and it will show you the events and how that is kind of impacting your how that's impacting your health, which I think is I think is great. Like I really love things like this because again, it's just immediate feedback. And I can see I've gone up here in the red after I've had like granola with honey, so I've taken in like too much sugar, and now I've crashed back down. So yeah, I only discovered this like the other day, but so that's also part of the motivation behind making this video. But again, it plugs into like all of the other stuff that you're using as well to pull in all of that data together, and really give you an idea of how your body is like reacting to things, how a workout impacts your glucose levels. And so I'm also in the process of ordering like an Aura Ring to handle like the sleep tracking, and all of that other stuff as well. I used to have an Apple Watch, but personally I prefer to wear a nice watch, to be completely honest. And then also just have like an Aura Ring. Is a much less like intrusive device. So then kind of going on to a few other things that I've done that I can recommend. When I'm in Georgia, I will kind of get my blood work done relatively frequently. The great thing about Georgia is that you can have a nurse come round to my apartment. The cost will be about $100, and that includes the cost of all the blood work as well. I will do like 10 tests on all of the different but basically like to cover like all of my internal organs, my testosterone levels, my cholesterol, like essentially all of the markers that that can kind of indicate your levels of health. When you do all of this blood work, you kind of get a load of just raw data dumped on you, and unless you're a doctor or have like an understanding of what all of these metrics mean, a lot of the data is kind of meaningless to you. They give you like an average of kind of where you're supposed to be, but there's not really any insight into how to improve it, or is that average even a good place to be? Should you work on what should you work on lowering and increasing? So that is where I'll introduce you to another tool named InsideTracker. This is just another application where you go and get your own blood work done, and you then plug in all of the data into the app, and it tells you how you can work on improving this, if it's good, if it's bad, what type of maybe internal organs these certain measurements impact. I can't remember the exact price. It was $120. You upload your blood results, and they tell you everything that is kind of going on inside of you. They make sense of that data for you through an app. It gives you all types of graphs and dashboards and so on, for you to really understand what's going on. So that is like a super interesting thing. And again, that kind of goes into based on utilizing your locations to their particular strengths. So whenever I'm in Georgia, I will always kind of make a habit, just because it's so convenient, just to have my blood work done regularly. So yeah, InsideTracker is kind of really good for helping you, telling you what is going on, making sense of all of that data that is dumped on you through blood work, and then telling you what you need to do. And also, if you're not sure what type of blood tests to get, you can go on their website as well, and you can just sign up. You don't have to pay anything, and it will tell you, if you want to know more about your internal organs, these are the ones you should get. If you want to measure your testosterone levels, this is the information and the type of blood test you should do. And you can just do a completely comprehensive overview of your entire body. Other tests as well that I've done, that I suggest. I did a food intolerance test. I literally recommend everyone to do it. I now try to do one every single year. I literally have intolerances to pretty much everything. There's no over-exaggeration at all. So about 2 years ago, it's often while you'll see my face being inflamed. It means that I've eaten inflammatory foods. So I'm intolerant to dairy, I'm intolerant to gluten, I'm intolerant to milk alternatives like coconut milk, soya milk, almond milk, everything like that. The only milk that I'm actually not intolerant to is camel's milk, and I've not come across anywhere selling camel's milk yet. I have intolerances to beef. The only thing I'm really able to eat is chicken, vegetables, and seafood, and I'm not a big fan of seafood, so it's really, really quite limited. So it was $300 to do this test. I did it out in Dubai. Again, they'll come around your apartment, they'll take your blood, and they'll extract your blood, and you'll get the results in a couple of days. And it's also important to know that it does change. When I did it 2 years ago, I had reactions to milk and to dairy, but I didn't have any reaction to coconut milk. So then for the past year, I was drinking my coffee with coconut milk. And when I did my more recent food intolerance test a couple of months ago, I realized that I now had an intolerance to coconut milk. So you need to have essentially a very balanced diet. As the thing that they told me is, if you start to introduce too much of a certain type of food into your diet, your body can start to develop an intolerance to it, which is also why I developed an intolerance to beef as well, because I was trying out a carnivore diet for about 3 months of last year, and I'm pretty sure that's how I've developed an intolerance to steak. But again, I think to have that type of information available to you, it just makes complete sense to do it. Even if you don't do it every year, or you can't afford to do it every year, just have an understanding of the type of foods that your body just doesn't agree with. So then, kind of moving on to fitness in general. I'm not going to give any workout advice. I just don't feel that I'm qualified to. If anyone's interested in what I try to do as workouts, I enjoy doing compound exercises, bench press, deadlifts. One workout that I will say, again, not advice, but something that I have been doing recently is doing chest and back on the same day, which, as you can imagine, is pretty stressful for the system. I actually got this off of like an old article from Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he was saying that it would mean he could kind of double the amount of training that he could do on both his chest and back by bringing them in together. So going in from like a superset of like bench press straight into like barbell rows or into pull-ups, of course it's quite stressful, but it's a great workout and you feel really good after it. So that's just one thing I've been playing around with recently, is training like major muscle groups together. Like the only point I would make, this is kind of an obvious one, is I try to make fitness as convenient for me as possible. So, for example, right now I'm living in like this apartment, and on the 8th floor there's a gym, there's a swimming pool, there's a steam room, so it's just super convenient. There's kind of like no excuse. Like this morning I've already gone down and done a workout. After I record this, I'll probably go down and sit in the steam room for 30 minutes and then maybe like go in the swimming pool later on, like this afternoon. So just by making it so convenient is really good. The other thing that I did is bought these like push-up grips, and it's not that I really need like push-up grips, but simply by leaving them on the floor in the apartment, it's kind of like a mental cue, like a little mind hack, and it triggers the motivation to just get down and just do like 10-20 push-ups. And so I just find that I will do way more push-ups purely just by leaving them around the apartment, because it just like triggers me to do so. So that's something really interesting as well, is kind of leaving these, just by having like weights on the floor, you're far more likely, like the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. So if you keep things in sight, they're going to be in your mind. So yeah, just kind of making things convenient. And that also plays into like my whole philosophy as well about having like different bases for different purposes. Like one of my favorite things to do, probably my favorite thing to do in the whole world, in fact, is just walking on a beach, like having a nice sandy beach, no shoes on, like just walking like half in the sea, half out of it. Often listening to an audiobook or listening to nothing, I find to be one of the most relaxing and like just pleasurable things, to be honest. Like I really do. Which is why like in Dubai, I often find when I'm there, I will lose weight because I'll just walk up and down the beach pretty much all day in the sun, listening to audiobooks, thinking about like planning or like whatever it is. So you can kind of, and it doesn't feel like a workout at all. So you can kind of optimize your, not just your local environment, but the environment that you're living in, to make like fitness much easier. So again, by being close to a gym, by being somewhere that you really enjoy fitness. So I'm thinking to go and spend a couple of months like living very kind of like on a beach almost, just so I can just walk up and down there every single day. But again, it plays into like my whole philosophy, like I said, about having bases set up for different purposes. Like for me, Georgia is like my business base. Then Dubai is kind of like I don't know, comfortable living base, I would say. Like everything in Dubai is super easy. All the restaurants are great. As long as you have money, it's a great place to live. You can order anything and it's super convenient. Also, it's like a general place to like work and live from. It's very good. I would say it covers like multiple different areas. But in terms of like dating, it's really kind of lacking. A lot of, I think everyone knows what goes on in Dubai. So then having like another base like here, somewhere in Colombia, where dating definitely isn't lacking, and you can kind of optimize your environment. If anyone's read Dan Bilzerian's book, The Setup, essentially all it's talking about is he optimizes his environment so that he has a life that women kind of want to be a part of, and it doesn't mean you need to go out renting super yachts and all this other stuff. Like I can guarantee you, like right now, penthouse apartment on the 13th floor, if you're just going out for drinks or dates with a girl and then saying I've got a jacuzzi back here with like a panoramic view over the city, it definitely optimizes your conversion rate, let's say. So for me, like Colombia is like where I kind of go for more fun. Like it's a very lively city here, and I really like that. as long as I want to be here for that. When I say lively, like there's always something going on, like at night that you can hear all the parties going on. So if you want to go out, it just has like a general feeling of being alive. Like the kind of Latin culture out here is very like hot-blooded, full of energy, and it's quite different to the other places that I live in. Very like sexually open country as well. So this is like, but full of a lot of distractions as well. So not the best country to work in my opinion, but definitely, again, it just kind of depends what you're looking for. So my whole philosophy is to establish multiple bases based on your own like personal interests, and kind of what you like to do. So right now I'm looking at acquiring a couple of different properties around the world as well, to kind of extend the reach of my bases. Anyway, completely went off on a side tangent there. Let's go on to like kind of general like mental health and some like the practices and things that I have there. So one app that I use, I will recommend to you, is called One Sec. And what this does is it stops you from opening apps out of convenience. And you can see my analytics here on the things that I've opened, how many times I've opened them. And the way that it does that is if I go to open Safari, look, I get a pop-up that says I need to rotate my phone 3 times in order to unlock Safari. And then it's going to ask me, what am I doing right now? What type of mindset am I in? So you can choose what apps you want to trigger this on. For me, I do Safari, I do Instagram, I do YouTube, I do Deliveroo, and any other like food delivery apps, just to make sure, do I really want to order this food? And then you need to write the reason that you're opening it. So I can say I'm opening to do research, and it keeps research on this particular thing. So it keeps you very accountable. Like if I was to open Instagram and there's no specific purpose behind it, such as replying to like a DM or something like that, if I'm just opening it for the purpose of scrolling through reels, when I have to write that to myself, it just makes you kind of accountable. So it just makes you kind of more aware of your habits, I think, by putting a bit of a blockage in, by increasing the amount of friction that it takes for you to open an app, and then you need to give the reason why you're opening it. Just really, really great app, and you can get it to, you can like trigger it on whatever apps that you want. So you can choose like, these are apps that I often waste time on, and you can set specific limits there. And then also it has like some little widgets. You see at the top here, it tells you what I've been opening and how long I've spent on them today. And then one other widget that I use as well is this like My Fitness Pal, where you log in how many calories you've consumed. I'm just trying to be more conscious of this stuff at the moment. And also, that's another thing I'll go over on my glucose monitor. On the new like iOS, you can just pin all of this stuff at the top here. So it has my glucose levels, it has how many calories I've consumed, and they're the things that I choose to put on my home screen. In terms of other things like meditation, personally I don't really like the term meditation. I think it sounds a little bit too I don't know, too like you're a monk. So I don't really like the term meditation. I will kind of call it like debugging, which is a phrase used in programming where if you're running an application, you can turn on like debug mode, and it will kind of log all of the steps that are taking place in the application, so you can try to figure out where something's going wrong. And I just really like applying that kind of debug mode to your own life. So I don't look at meditation as in I need to sit down for 30 minutes and be completely still. Instead, I will do something, like debug mode is what I would call it, where you just sit there and all you're doing is putting your mental application into debug mode, where you are actively monitoring your thoughts. So I have no expectation of having a silent mind. It's simply me being aware of, if I sit there with no external stimulation, no phone, nothing, no distractions. If I go and sit outside and I sit there for 10 minutes, where does my mind go to? And that is all it is for me. So just essentially the process of monitoring your thoughts, being aware of what is going through your mind. And just, I don't do it every single day. Like, I'm not here to kid anyone. I don't do it too often. Just whenever I find some time, that is, I do enjoy doing it. So I'll just find some time to sit there and just have basically no external interruptions, and just sit there and just see where your mind goes for like 5 minutes. I don't try to sit there for half an hour or anything. I'll just do like a couple of minutes, and often I'll feel really great after it. Another thing that I should have mentioned is on the app that I showed you as well, one of the exercises that they get you to do before you can choose to open an app is to breathe in. So before I go and open whatever, my email, it has a little animation where you will take a huge breath and then you breathe out. So that's been something else that has been a pretty, not like a mind-blowing result, but just like a positive improvement. Like, it just gives you like maybe 20 times throughout the day where it will get you to take like a deep breath, and I think it just makes you more like conscious and more kind of in the moment. Speaking of breathing, other thing I'm going to introduce you to that I've been using recently is this, which is it's not a snore mask. I think it could be used for that purpose as well, though, actually. But it's to stop you breathing through your mouth. So this is something that I also have been implementing. So I will go to bed at night wearing this. I'm not sure if you need to wear it forever or if eventually you just kind of break your own habit. But I do notice that when I wake up in the morning, after wearing this, I wake up with a lot more energy. I am normally a mouth breather. I wake up with much more energy. I feel much better rested, and so I'll be interested when I get my Oura ring to do a test of what is it like sleeping with this, where I will only breathe through my nose compared to sleeping without it. How restful is the sleep? I think the one negative of it is like when you have it on, you look like like my poor girlfriend. I look like someone who's just come out of a motorbike accident, going to sleep next to her every night. But yeah, they're like $10, and so it just literally just keeps your mouth shut to force you to breathe through your nose, and that's been another improvement. There's a book that I was reading, I've forgotten the name of it now though, that just speaks about how like all of the negatives of mouth breathing and what a positive impact breathing through your nose can have. I'll have to get the name of it. It's not coming to me right now. Then I guess to go on to like supplementation, like I'm not really doing too many supplements at the moment. One thing that I will mention is there was one brand that I came across in Dubai, Ancestral Living, which I now actually found out is owned by Liver King. I wasn't aware of that before. Not that I'm a fan or a hater of him, just worth mentioning. But it's ground up beef organs, and like you can buy liver, you can buy heart, you can buy all this other stuff. And I tried these liver crisps before from Carnivore Aurelius, who you can follow on Instagram, and you definitely get a very positive feeling after eating them. Like I felt very good, and I instantly felt it. However, I hated the taste of the crisps, so I would never eat them. It was dried out beef liver. And so now, like taking those Ancestral Living supplements, I will say it is one supplement that I take and I really feel a difference. I've spent a lot of money on supplements in the past. Like I'm very big on just trying to like optimize and hack my way through life, and they were definitely supplements where I had like a positive uplift in my mood just from taking them. So yeah, I've just ordered some more of those because I have actually finished them already. Other than that, I'm not really taking too much. Like bone broth, I quite like as well. Like at the moment, doing it in powdered form because I can't find anyone selling bone broth out here, and I don't really do any cooking to do it myself. But I've also will be ordering some more Fedosia agrestis, I think is how it's pronounced, maybe agrestis, and Tonkat Ali, which are two supplements for increasing testosterone. So I guess to finally kind of finish up on testosterone as well, I don't do like TRT, although I have absolutely nothing against it, and I can pretty much guarantee in my life I will move on to it. Right now I have pretty high levels of testosterone. Like the last test that I did, I was at about 780, which just for me it kind of isn't worth going on to TRT where I will be on that for the rest of my life, when I naturally have quite high testosterone levels. And considering that I am also overweight, I don't do anything to really focus on naturally increasing my testosterone. There's a guy that I know of who was able to increase his testosterone to about 1200 naturally by doing things like drinking water only in glass bottles, not using some shampoos with specific ingredients in it, like all this. I actually wrote down all that stuff. Maybe I'll share it with some people. All of these like little hacks basically to increase his testosterone production. So I basically am focusing on, one of my key focuses now is to get my testosterone levels to be as high as naturally possible. I naturally have quite high levels, so I just want to see how far I can push that. Testosterone levels go down as you have more fat on your body, so that will be like one of the first things for me to optimize. As well, I can make a lot of significant improvements on my diet, and as well take supplements such as Fedosia agrestis and Tonka Ali and a few other things as well. Again, all kind of natural supplements to push my testosterone up as high as possible. And your testosterone goes down every single year. So, when I'm probably like 35 maybe, that is when I would look at like moving over to, maybe even older than that. Of course, I have to to see how I feel. But I do think that like TRT is one of those ways, like I mentioned, one of my primary goals is to feel as good as possible for as long as possible. And TRT is kind of one of those things that can make you feel and look a lot younger. And we're even seeing like athletes who are going on to TRT who have retired for a lot of years, returning into their specific sports. That's how much of a difference it can make. So, like I said, not doing anything at the moment. Again, not from a moral or any other point of view, is that I just feel it's not the right time of my life, but it's something that I like actively that I'm actively tracking right now. My main focus is increasing natural testosterone levels, cleaning up diet, and reducing inflammation as much as possible by kind of working out every single day. So that's kind of my health, fitness, and kind of mental well-being protocol. I also really like audiobooks. I generally find them quite relaxing. Like I can just sit here with my AirPods on and even just walk around the apartment. I find it pretty good for like well-being and like reducing stress levels. But any comments as well? Like there's, again, like I said, this is just me kind of sharing what I'm doing as a in like my own personal journey. It's not from an area of expertise or anything. I do hope that you learn something new, particularly with like the apps, which is things that I'm kind of figuring out to help me optimize my environment to be much more health conscious about the kind of choices and decisions that I'm making in my day-to-day life. Very interested to hear any feedback from people as well, particularly people who've used some of the things that I mentioned, like the Aura Ring. Maybe, I don't know, people have some supplement recommendations and things like that. Again, always very interested to hear from other people. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Any questions, let me know. Take care and have a great day.